Thanks once again for spending a few minutes with us to get up to date on what's happening in the city of New Hope. The mayor is with us, Kathi Hemken. Welcome once again, Mayor. How are you today?
Hi, Dave. Just fine, thanks. I want to explain that the background is not where I am. It's so cold out. I want it to be summer and I want it to be the beach.
There you go.
We get to look at the background as the beach today.
It's inspiring us. We like it. Let's talk a little bit about some things happening in the city. The first is an election update. Seems early to think election, but this is the filing time frame. Tell us what that is all about.
Well, two of my council members, Councilmember Elder and Councilmember London, their terms will expire at the end of 2022. So those two positions are open. Filing is now open until the 31st of May. And the reason it's so early is because if there's too many people filing, they might have to have a primary. And it also takes a while to get it on the ballots and get all that stuff ready. So it seems early to be filing, but now's the time to do it if you're going to file.
All right. And if people need more information, go to the city's website, newhopemn.gov. You can find out all the information there. Last time we were together, we talked a little bit about the Curbside Appeal Reimbursement Program. You wanted to mention that once again and make sure residents knew what it was all about. Tell us more.
Well, the thought behind this is we want people's houses to look nice from the street. So any work that you have done that you could see from the street, from your house or your garage, the city will reimburse 25% of that up to $5,000. So that you have your project has to be under 20,000 to get the reimbursement. If it's over 20, the resident pays the difference over that 100% of that. Okay. But it's just a way to just help people along a little bit, so that get them anxious about doing some work that you can see from the street. I don't believe that includes your gardens or your fences or things like that. It's things like windows, doors, new garage doors, things of that sort.
Okay. And again, the city's website to find out more about that. Let's give folks an update on scattered site housing throughout the city. The first property is on Aquila. We've been watching this. What is the latest update there?
Well, they're just finishing up painting inside. The house is sold and they're going to close the end of June. So there'll be some new neighbors living in there. Pretty soon we won't even talk about that house anymore. All
right. Let's move up to 58th and Boone, a house that we've talked about a few times. What is the update there on some of the work being done?
Well, I have to explain a little bit about that. So that house has been condemned and the bank owns it. Well, of course, the bank has a property maintenance company that's supposed to take care of the house, and they haven't been very diligent about that. So we sent them a little note saying, please mow your lawn and get rid of the outside storage. So that house is not supposed to be lived in, and the property needs to be kept up. It doesn't look good for the neighbors. Mm-hmm. So there is something being done. And if they don't do that, we'll fine them, quite frankly. So that will get done, but know that we are aware of it and we are doing something. It just, these things always take forever.
Let's move ahead to the business networking group. Give people a date that's coming up rather quickly, and then something maybe for the future for your calendar. What's coming up quickly?
Well, June 1st is the next business networking meeting. It's at 2:00. It's going to be at the food group right off of Boone and about 55th. You get a tour of what the food group does and a little explanation of what they do. And there's always some good networking going on at those meetings. So they've been well attended lately, and this one should be well attended too. And the next one they've moved to July 20th because it would have interfered with that 4th of July week. So It's been moved to the 20th. That'll be at 3:00 and possibly at Pocket Square on 42nd, where the old Mountain Mud used to be. So that should also be a good networking meeting too.
All right, more information to come as that gets closer. Let's go to Public Works, update folks on a few things happening there. The first is seasonal employees. They're getting some training now as it's about time to head out to the parks.
Well, we hire a lot of young people and some not so young to mow, clean up the parks, just do that stuff that Public Works normally does that they can get some help with. So that orientation and training is going on right now. They're doing some turf repair at the fields through the winter, and when people are out there in the early spring, some of that turf gets kind of tore up. So Public Works goes out and they're repairing that turf now. There's a dock that's being installed at Northwood Lake. I had no idea we had a dock at Northwood, but it's not for motorboats. It's for canoes and kayaks, and they'll be installing that this week sometime.
All right, and
And
another sure sign that the weather has changed is we've got some flower baskets going up along Xylon. This will be beautiful once again.
we do those, so almost all of them are up. They're also connecting a watering system to them. So they'll be watered on a regular basis. Give them well, as soon as the weather gets warm enough, give them a few weeks and they're gonna be really, really pretty.
Let's move over to some road projects happening around the city, some spots you might want to watch out for, and a lot of it seems to be around Bass Lake Road. Tell us about some of the projects that are underway.
Well, first of all, they're doing a mill and overlay north of Bass Lake Road on Gettysburg and Hillsborough. So that, what they do is they take off the pavement, they put some new pavement down and just put some stuff over it. So that's happening now. Now on Bass Lake Road itself, they're gonna do some mill and overlay work. And that's going to start in July, like July 5th. That's gonna be a real mess. So if you can avoid it in any way,
Mhm.
do that. Try not to be on that road because I'm sure it'll be done in two pieces and it'll be one lane each way, which means the traffic will be really slow.
Good
So
idea.
just do something else. The other thing that happened is the folks on Bass Lake Road had their water diverted because they put in a new water line.
Mhm.
So they were using water from some above ground hoses or tubes or whatever they're called. So now they should be hooked up to the main by now. If they're not hooked up to the main, please call and let us know that, oh, you forgot us, because sometimes that does happen. And we don't want anybody to be using water out of pipes that they don't need to be using.
Sounds good. Let's move to Park and Rec. A lot happening here as the season rolls on. The first is a little explanation of a partner the city has with some of the athletic sports. This is called Rev Sports. Tell us a little more, Mayor.
Well, if you look in your in motion book, some of the camps that they say are being run by Rev Sports. Rev Sports is an organization that's really good at running these bigger camps. We do a lot of the little one-day things. They more do the things that are many weeks. So
Okay.
if you look in your book and it says Rev Camps, that's what it is, and you'll be signing up through our Park and Rec department, but it'll be run by a different organization. And we've worked with them for a long time.
We've got a photo here to share of some work that was recently done in a park, and these are some very happy volunteers, Mayor. Who is this team and how can others help out in the same way?
Well, the Citizens Advisory Commission went to the park and picked up, I believe it was Victory Park, and picked up sticks. Remember the storm that came and there were just twigs all over the place. A little bit of garbage, not a lot, but they picked up all that. And we have 4 parks left that need to be adopted. So if you want to adopt, whether you're a church or a business, or just you and the kids want to adopt a park, we ask that you clean it up twice a year. In the meantime, Public Works picks it up and cleans it up, but it's really nice to have somebody come in and do those little fine touches. So thank you to the Citizens Advisory Commission to do that. The other thing they did is we have planters on 42nd, and they used to be planted by our garden club. Well, the garden club is pretty much defunct.
Okay.
They still meet, but they're a little bit older and it's hard for them to plant. So the Citizens Advisory Commission volunteered to plant those. So after they picked up the park, they went to Victory Park and they picked up their supply of plants and they should be planting them. I asked them not to plant this week because it's really kind of cold. So they're going to wait till after Labor Day, like you're supposed to, and plant those plants then.
Beautifying the city. It'll be fun to drive around and see all of the hard work pay off. Let's talk about some of the facilities around the city that are seeing lots of activity. The first is the golf course. How are things going there?
Well, last weekend we had the plant sale at the golf course and it was a huge success, 8-1. There's still a couple hundred plants outside and there's going to be about 20-25 coleus inside because it's too cold yet for those poor coleus to be outside. And I need to get them out of my apartment. So they'll be going over to the inside of the clubhouse. Just go inside. They're 2 for $5. Pick out a couple that you want and you just pay the guy that's running the tab up there.
Very good. And again, a lot of rental of the golf course by different groups and some of the patio area. So if you're interested in joining in on some of the activities there, lessons, all of that, make sure you stop by the golf course. Let's talk about the ice arena. That is busy as well. And also some of the updating or repair work is really well underway.
Oh, the North Rink is just beautiful. They painted all the bleachers. They replaced the dasher boards and the glass. The ice is in now, and so of course they're using that. They've got a hockey team, eight men's hockey teams that play there. And then there's a goaltending group that is there. And now on the south rink, they're cleaning up the boards over there. So that should be done this week. So they've got some stuff scheduled on the south rink. So I would guess by the end of the week, the ice arena will be back in full force again.
Very good. And finally, let's head to the pool. People might be getting excited when they drive by because it looks like water is going in, but not so fast. This is part of the process. What's the latest from the pool?
Yeah, well, the water's going in, and as you can imagine, it takes a long time to get
Sure.
that water. And once they get it in, they start adding the chemicals. But they have to be very careful that they don't over chemical it. So it's a slow process. They put it in, they check it, they put more in, they check it. Once they get it down to the formula, it'll be a little easier, but each year the formula changes just a little bit. So they're getting that ready. They're also training the staff. We get a lot of seasonals at the pool, and these are young kids and they need to be trained. So we're going through that orientation and training them as well at the moment.
All right, very good. A couple other things in the world of Park and Rec to talk about. Women's softball, the season is underway, and this program continues to grow and do very well.
We have 13 teams now, and that's really exciting. So they play on Tuesday. I'm going to get the times here so I don't get this confused. They play on Tuesdays from 6 to 10 and on Sundays from 3 to 8. And they'll be at either Victory or Northwood Parks. So if you haven't seen a women's softball game, they're free, of course. Just go and watch. They're really fun to watch.
Sounds like fun. All right. A couple other events that we'll mention now. You'll also see them at the end of this update in the role of different events coming up. But the first has to do with the concert coming up with a favorite for families, the Teddy Bear Band. When and where?
Well, it's Music in the Park at that new performance center. That's at Civic Center Park. It's 7 to 8:30. As you know, we don't have bleachers anymore. So bring a chair, bring a blanket to sit on. I believe they're going to be selling popcorn and sodas there.
Nice.
I think the dance team does that most of the time. So this again is a free event, and you should go and watch them. They're fun.
Another event for your calendar is coming up on June 4th. This is the Vehicle Fair. It's a co-op between a number of cities. Tell us where this happens and what youngsters and their families can see.
Well, it's at the Crystal Community Center. It's from 10 till noon. And the vehicles from all of the neighboring cities like Crystal, New Hope, Robbinsdale, and Plymouth bring their big vehicles there. I'm sure that big MRAP, that big thing that looks like a tank, is there. The kids get such a kick out of that thing. So all those vehicles are there. You can just kind of wander around, look at them. The young ones really get a kick out of doing that. And CCX is always there to film that. That's kind of fun for them too.
It is a fun event. One other event to put on the calendar. We've been having fun talking about this. This is the one that has to do with mud, all sorts of mud somewhere. What is this event?
It's called Young Mudders, and it's a huge success. Apparently they get a pit somewhere, fill it full of dirt, and then wet the dirt and kids play in the mud.
Okay.
Again, this year they're letting the adults play in the mud from 11 to 12 with their child. You got to have a child. You just can't come and play in the mud by yourself. They're also looking for volunteers to help out at the event. And you can just call City Hall and tell them you want to be a volunteer for Young Mudders. And they can go and help hose the kids down, I guess, or whatever it is they do to help. But it's a fun event, and it takes a lot of volunteers to run that event.
Sure, it does sound like great fun. A couple final notes and human resources to talk about. We've got some other training going on. So this is not only for the public works, but also for some of the staff that are going to be working at the pool. Tell us why this is so important.
Well, we need to get all of that staff orientated so they know what to expect, and they know how to run the machines, and they know where they're supposed to be and how to get paid and all that kind of stuff. So that takes a little bit of orientation with them. The other thing we do, and I think this is kind of interesting, we have a defensive driving class. And the next one is the 21st of June, and that's at City Hall. That's a 4-hour class. And you have to have taken the 8-hour class before that to sign up for the 4-hour refresher. What I didn't know is anybody that drives a city vehicle has to take that class. They want them to do the defensive driving too. So depending on how much you drive the vehicles, the city vehicles, is determined on how often you have to take that class.
Sure.
So it's either every 3 years or every 6 years. But so we have our drivers even doing defensive driving.
All right, good to know. Couple final updates. The city always putting information out about things that are coming up. And the first way that's going to happen here shortly is the In Touch magazine. Tell us about In Touch and when people can see that.
Well, that should be going out the end of May, and that goes to every resident, all the apartment buildings and every resident. If you don't get it for whatever reason, you need to call City Hall to make sure that for some reason you're not on the list to do that. It's usually sent to resident and the address, so they're more going on the address as opposed to what the name is.
Okay.
But we've got so many new houses going in that you may not have gotten on the list. So if you didn't get one, please call and we'll get you one.
Sounds good. And then the other way that people can stay in touch is through Facebook, the city with the Facebook page that a lot of this information is on. But then there's also a police department Facebook page, and it looks like they had some fun recently. What was up?
Oh, our police department is just so wonderful, and they can have fun too. So on the 4th of May, that's part of Star Wars. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
So they got a Chewbacca mask and they had it on the police officers. And every time they moved their mouth, it would make that funny little noise that Chewbacca would make.
Sure.
And so Beth Kramer, our communications director, went out to all the policemen that would do it. So they're in police cars, they're at their desks, they're doing all kinds of things with this Chewbacca mask. So you can just type in, and the little bar at the bottom, type in New Hope Police Department. And when that comes up, it'll be on Facebook. When that comes up, hit video, and you can just see this little 3-minute video. It's really cute. We're getting a lot of hits on it.
That sounds like fun. All right. Another way they're connecting with the community in a fun way. Well, Mayor, thanks so much again for giving us the update. And again, a lot of information passed along today. Go to the city's website, newhopemn.gov, to find out more. And stick with us here, as promised, in the next minute or two, some of the events that are coming up in New Hope that you might want to get on your calendar. Mayor, thanks again for being with us. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Dave. I'll see you next week.
Okay. Learn more about The Connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.